As everyone knows, today we're going to be speaking on retail, hospitality, and tourism, our regional advisory, which will be taking place, of course, from 11 a.m. all the way to 1 p.m. So again, very excited to have everyone here. Definitely want to begin by saying and recommend everyone that has the ability to turn on their video to please do so, as well as engage with these industry experts and a means to establish some collaboration and get more feedback. So again, thank you so much. And next slide, please. So before we begin, we want to thank our industry partners, the Hilton, AEG, Tourism Diversity Matters, Latino Restaurant Association, and the Marriott, as well as our college partners who are currently here and representing. So we will introduce our speakers towards the end of the presentation once we get towards the roundtable discussion. So just want to acknowledge our industry partners and thank them so much. Next slide, please. So before we begin, just want to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves. Again, my name is Jose Pelayo. I am the Program Manager of Workforce Development. I'll pass it on to my colleague and the VP of Workforce Development, Jermaine Hampton.
Good morning, all. Jermaine Hampton, Vice President of Workforce Development Special Projects with LAEDC. I'll pass it to Alicia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alicia. I'm the Assistant Program Manager for Workforce Development. Nice to meet y'all.
Hi, everyone. Jared Lopez. I'm also an Assistant Program Manager in Workforce Development. Very excited to get some insights from our employers and hopefully help out our community college partners as well.
Awesome. Now, thank you so much for that. So now we're going to pass it on to Alicia, who's going to be emceeing the event today. So Alicia, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Sorry, I think something froze. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Hi, everyone. So we wanted to just go over a little bit of today. So today's regional program advisory is in collaboration with the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, as well as the Center of Excellence for Labor Market Research. Also LAEDC and our industry partners, thank you so much for being here. We also just wanted to say that the presentation today will start off with our research and data that will be provided from the Institute of Applied Economics here at LAEDC, as well as the Center of Excellence. Then we're gonna head on over to our roundtable discussions with our industry partners and discussion questions after that. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. McKeejian, who is the Chair and Assistant Vice President of the Los Angeles Regional Consortium.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Good morning. It is with great pleasure and excitement that I extend a warm welcome to each one of you, our college faculty, administrators, staff, and industry partners to our LARC Retail, Hospitality, and Tourism Regional Program Advisory in partnership with LAEDC and the Centers of Excellence. Your presence and expertise are invaluable assets to our career and technical education programs, and we are truly honored and grateful to have you as part of our program advisory. I would like to just provide you a little bit of context about LARC. LARC is a consortium of LA19's community colleges working collectively to deliver on a promise that community colleges are accessible and affordable to all who seek opportunities to realize a better future. We collaborate with K-12 partners, higher road employers, and priority industries to align impactful curriculum and workforce training programs, creating a seamless pathway for college and career readiness. Our mission is to bridge the gap between LA's workforce and employers fueling our cutting-edge economy. Our objective is to address the skills gap by increasing the availability of well-trained skilled workforce in LA County. This will not only close the supply and demand gap, but it'll also increase economic and social mobility for LA19 students and residents. We deeply appreciate your commitment to supporting our programs, which 17 out of our 19 colleges offer, and nurturing the talent of our students. Throughout our collaboration, we look forward to engaging in fruitful discussions, innovative ideas, and collaborative initiatives. Together, we can create an enriching learning environment that prepares our students to become leaders and innovators in this sector. Once again, welcome to our program advisory. Your dedication and expertise is invaluable, and we are excited about the meaningful impact we will achieve together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. McKeegan. Next, we will have Diego, who is our research analyst here at the Institute for Applied Economics at LAEDC, and he's going to go over the overview of the current landscape in the retail, hospitality, and tourism industry and what kind of looks like.
Thanks, Alicia. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for having me here. My name is Diego Saavedra, and I'm a research analyst for the Institute for Applied Economics at LADC. I'll be sharing with you guys the current demand landscape for the hospitality industry, anticipated future employment, job postings in the industry, as well as some industrial and occupational demographic information. So to examine the hospitality industry, we looked at 8 total NAICS industry codes seen here, with the first being scheduled passenger air transportation, deep sea passenger transportation, scenic and sightseeing transportation, travel arrangement and reservation services, convention and trade show organizers, gambling industries, traveler accommodation, and finally food services and drinking places. Next slide, please. So here we have employment for a 10-year period from 2012 to 2022. Employment saw a general upward trend leading up to 2020, hitting a 10-year peak of about 501,500 employees in 2019. There was a dip in 2020 down to about 369,000 employees, but the industry has since bounced back with over 461,000 employees in the most recent year observed of 2022. Next slide, please. So now taking a closer look at the employment distribution, we see since 2012, food services and drinking places remain the largest industry by far, holding over 80% of employees through 2022. We also see that the remaining industries have remained fairly stable in this time period with marginal differences over this 10-year span, with the biggest differences being in traveler accommodation share decreasing by about 2%, while scheduled passenger air transportation share increased by 2%. Now looking at average annual pay in 2022, we see that most of these industries pay a living wage in Los Angeles County on average, with 6 out of 8 of these industries paying more than $50,000 per year on average. The highest paying industry on average is deep sea passenger transportation with an average of $130,704 per year. And the 2 lowest paying industries are scenic and sightseeing transportation and food services and drinking places industries. And these average wages are likely skewed down due to the large amount of entry-level jobs in these industries. On the other end, the 3 highest paying are the mentioned deep sea passenger transportation, second being scheduled passenger air transportation, and third, travel arrangement and reservation services, all paying over $90,000 per year on average. Next slide, please. So now we look at real wage growth since 2012. Over this 10-year period, real wages grew at varying rates across the industries selected here, with the largest increase being in deep sea passenger transportation industry, experiencing over 45% real wage growth since 2012. And more generally, real wages in the hospitality industries grew over 26% on average in this 10-year span. Here we have forecasted employment projecting through 2028. In the next 5 years, employment is expected to grow about 15.8%, projecting over 14,500 new jobs per year in hospitality industries, as well as reaching and eclipsing pre-pandemic levels of employment by 2025. Here we take a deeper look into each of the hospitality industries, with the convention and trade show organizers industry expecting to grow the most out of all 8 selected, growing over 26% in the next 5 years. Industries projected to grow the least are gambling industries, travel arrangement and reservation services, and deep sea passenger transportation. This is likely due to these companies moving toward employing more high-skilled workers, which would align with these 3 industries also having the most real wage growth since 2012. Here we have two graphs looking at job postings since 2012 in hospitality industries. On the graph on the left, we see job postings reached a decade high in 2022, growing tenfold since 2012, with nearly 83,000 job postings in 2022 compared to about 10,000 in 2012. This spike in postings is likely due to a result of pandemic restrictions and hospitality industries being lifted that were in place in 2020 and 2021. In the pie chart on the right, we see that the food services and drinking places industry represents the largest industry over this 10-year period, with over 65% of total posts, followed by traveler accommodation industry with about 29% of postings, and the remaining 6 industries making up 5.5% of total postings in this 10-year period. Here is another visual to show like the difference between the food services and drinking places industry and the traveler accommodation compared to the other 6. In the graph on the left, these 2 industries dwarf the other 6 industries in postings. But again, that's likely due to just employing more workers that with entry-level jobs. And then zooming into these 6 industries, we see that travel arrangement and reservation services has been the industry with the 3rd most posts since 2012, with scheduled air passenger transportation sweeping into 4th most postings in 2021. Next slide, please. Thank you. Here we have the top 5 employers in 2022, being Marriott International, Starbucks, Hilton, Jack in the Box, and Sodexo. In 2022, they made up over 17% of all job postings in the hospitality industries, despite spanning only 2 of the 8 industries we looked at, with those 2 being traveler accommodation and food services and drinking places industries. Now moving into industry demographics, looking at age distribution, over 35% of employees in hospitality industries are between 25 and 39 years old, about 12% more than the other industries in Los Angeles County. Overall, hospitality workers are younger than in other industries, with about 64% of workers under 40 compared to about 54% in other industries. Here we have educational attainment distribution, and we see about 39% of employees in hospitality industries have some college experience or an associate's degree, which is over 10% more than in other industries in Los Angeles County. Next. Here we have racial and ethnic distribution in hospitality industries. We see Black workers are underrepresented, with only about 5% of workers compared to nearly 8% in all other industries. And on the other end of that, we see that Hispanic and Latino workers are strongly represented in hospitality industries, with about 10% more workers compared to other industries in LA County. Here we have the gender distribution in hospitality industries, and we see that there's near perfect gender parity, with 50.6% male workers compared to 49.4% female workers. Next slide. Here we look at 5 occupations with over 5,000 jobs in 2022, with them being food service managers, flight attendants, reservation and transportation ticket agents and travel clerks, chefs and head cooks, merchandise displayers, and window trimmers. We see that in these occupations, they are fairly accessible to workers with some college or an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, with about 54 to 81% of workers in these occupations having similar levels of education or less. In each of these 5 occupations, over 60% of workers are between 25 and 54 years old, close to 20% more than the 43% in all other industries in LA County. In these selected, go back to the other slide. In these selected occupations, we also see that female workers are underrepresented in chef and head cook jobs, with about 28% less female workers compared to other industries in LA County. And we also see Black workers are underrepresented in the food service manager and merchandise displayer and window trimmer occupations, with about 4 and 6% less representation compared to other industries. And lastly, we also see Latino workers are underrepresented in flight attendant and merchandise displayers and window trimmer occupations, with about 22 and 13% less representation respectively compared to other industries in LA County. Next slide, please. And finally, the key takeaways from the slides are that real wages in hospitality industries have grown over 26% since 2012. 6 out of 8 of these industries studied pay a living wage in Los Angeles County on average. The convention and trade show organizing industry is expected to grow the most through 2028 in these selected industries, with projected growth of over 26%, and overall employment is expected to grow nearly 16% on average across all hospitality industries through 2028. And finally, thank you all for your time, and please feel free to reach out with any questions, and here is my contact information.
Thank you so much, Diego, for that. We really appreciate it. Next, we have Jermaine Hampton, who is the Vice President of Workforce Development and Special Projects here at LADC, and he's going to give a more insight on the 5-pillar strategy for economic development.
Thank you, Alicia, and also thank you, Diego, for that excellent presentation. You know, for LADC, you know, as we work on reinventing our economy to collaboratively advance growth and prosperity for all, you know, these types of conversations are very important. And so LADC, we're really situated as a regional convener, and we're able to leverage our research arm and really substantiate a lot of the work that we do across the region in partnership with all of the individuals on this call today and in other walks of life across the county as well. And so that being said, you know, the way that we operate and the way that we want to really drive and build equitable talent pipelines across LA County, again, starts with that research arm, but then industry cluster development, right? How do we build one ecosystem at a time? I know the conversation today is about hospitality. A couple of the ecosystems that we're currently working on and building out economic blueprints so that we can help inform decision makers are biosciences, which is also another program advisory that we've already done with the LARC in partnership with the LARC and the community colleges. But in addition to that, aerospace and defense, another one that we've done, and then digital media, entertainment, and sports. And we know that hospitality has a lot of alignment with that last industry cluster. And so we saw a lot of the data really speaks towards the fact that the hospitality industry is recovering, but we know there's a lot of work to be done, especially as you're thinking about some of the major games that are coming, like the Olympics in 2028. What does the infrastructure look like? What does LA County look like as a whole as we help a lot of our small businesses continue to recover and provide supportive services and resources to them? And we do that through our business assistance program. Attraction, retention, and expansion. And so that's how we really work with those small businesses, so BIPOC and women-owned businesses, to help them advance and grow and prosper here in LA County. In addition to that, foreign direct investment. How do we work with our overseas partners and actually attract business to LA County? We do that through our World Trade Center LA, which is a subsidiary of the LAEDC. And then finally, workforce development, right? Building those equitable talent pipelines, following the research and looking at those in-demand or high-growth sectors and figuring out ways that we can really reach individuals at an earlier age. We know that as we work with our K-12 partners, our CSU partners, and then of course our college partners, we know that we have to reach folks at an earlier age. And so that's really about promoting dual enrollment, actually providing tools and resources and working closely with our unified school districts across LA County. We know that the living wage here in LA County is, for one single individual, is roughly almost $23 an hour. When you look at the dynamics of LA County, it's massive. We're almost at 10 million people, right? In addition to that, we know that 51% of individuals throughout LA County live in a disadvantaged community. So what does that mean? Lack of education, training, and resources and opportunity. And so one thing that LADC does in collaboration with our partners is just that. We want to close those gaps and make sure that not only students, but job seekers as well are informed about the regional economy so that they can participate. We feel as though everyone should have access to the middle class, and if not higher. And so one thing that's huge and tremendous with the community colleges is there's a community college nestled all up and down the LA basin. That is huge because of the fact that from what I've seen, the community colleges still remain a bit underutilized, as well as our American Job Centers of California. And so we really want to work and continue to collaborate with our partners to build enrollment, to create more dual enrollment opportunities so that the colleges can really be that resource, right? That's why we have these program advisory conversations, which we've been doing for quite some time now. And there's been a lot of curriculum that's been created in collaboration with the community colleges and the deans and faculty. But in addition to that, just enhancement of curriculum as well. Because as we bring industry to the table and have these unified conversations, we're able to talk about the challenges and resources, but also the solutions, right? We're able to really marry together public and private partnerships so that individuals and obviously academia, so that everyone can work together collaboratively toward one, kind of unique goal. And so with keeping our students in mind and our job seekers in mind, I just want to encourage a healthy conversation today. I encourage a lot of feedback and participation. Again, I want to thank the Los Angeles Regional Consortium. I want to thank all of the college participants and those that are on the call and those that will also participate once we share this recording. And then obviously our industry partners for taking time out of their busy schedules to have these unique conversations. You saw on a slide earlier, I mean, 2 of the major employers here in LA region are on this call. And that's where LADC sits, being able to leverage our industry partners and bring them to the table to have these conversations. So thank you all again. And I'm hopeful for a great conversation today. I'll put my information in the chat because we want to continue to partner and collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jermaine. Next, we will have Luke Meyer, who is the director of the LA Center of Excellence for the Labor Market Research hosted at Mount San Antonio College, and he's going to go over the community college talent supply.
Thank you very much. And thanks everybody for coming today. I want to thank LAEDC for your ongoing partnership and all the contributions to our colleges, our 19 colleges in the LA Basin. Thank you for those of you that are here. You're the people that get our students in the door, teach them the knowledge and skills to get jobs. And then obviously all the employers, speaking of jobs, thank you for being here. My name is Luke Meyer. I'm the director for the Los Angeles Center of Excellence for Labor Market Research. We've been hosted at Mount SAC for over 15 years. And we basically provide labor market data to the colleges to help align their career education programs with the needs of the LA labor market. So I'll get through this quickly so we can get to the conversation. Next. So our community colleges organize these programs into the retail, hospitality, and tourism sector. Here are some illustrative examples of some programs. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are offered at 17 of our 19 colleges. You see lodging management, that seems to be important to today's call, resort club management, restaurant management, culinary arts, travel, services and tourism. We have some flight attendant programs, and then fashion and interior design. There are also some related to retail and others as well. Next. All right, so this is a longitudinal look at students who earned a certificate or a degree in programs aligned with this sector. So you can see over the from the last 10 years, the students increased, peaking in 2017 at 750, and has declined, and then just picked up this last year to 584, which is above where it was 10 years ago. Next. And the students enrolled in these pathways, you can see a decline of almost 34% from 12,500 down to 8,300. Despite this decline, the portion of students earning awards is greater now than it was at that time. Next slide. And taking a look where these students are enrolled, you see the colleges listed on the left: Mount SAC, my host college, LA Trade Tech, and Santa Monica, all enroll over 1,000 students in these pathways, and you can see the names going down on the list. Next. All right, when we look at the student demographics from the last year, about 2/3 of students are female, half identify as Hispanic, and half are under the age of 24. So this young, female-forward, racially diverse group of students will hopefully, fill, and Diego's slide on gender being very, very equal. We could shift that towards more females working in this industry potentially with the students that we have in LA. Next. I know there's a lot on here. These are the programs aligned with this sector. There's a few that are related to a project, a regional project that we have focused on retail, hospitality, and tourism included as well, such as business management and management development and supervision. You can see culinary arts issues a lot of awards, retail management, and then you can see lodging management there in the middle, issuing 71 awards in the last academic year, which is a big increase from where it started. Awards in the 2019-20 year, we're down there at the bottom, just over 2,100, declined about 10%, most likely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and then have largely rebounded up 9% to 2,100 in the most recent year. Next. All right, so the next 4 slides, we're going to look at some student employment outcomes. So students exiting our program, they receive a survey called the CTEOS, the Career Technical Education Outcome Survey. It's administered by Santa Rosa Junior College. After students leave, about a year or two later, they receive this survey, and they're asked, the job you're working in, is it related to what you studied in college? In the blue, you have students exiting the RHT programs, and then in red, you have the average across all programs. So you can see in certain years, the retail hospitality students led the way, like in 2014-15, 2016-17, and other years, the average was a little bit higher, but they're mostly neck and neck with about 3 out of 4 students using their education in their field of study in their jobs. Next. This is their median change in earnings. So what did students earn before starting their program compared to what they earn after? And you can see that these values peaked around 30% in 2014-15, have declined a little bit since then. And the retail, hospitality, and tourism students have kind of gone up and down and up and down. The most recent year increasing their earnings by 14%, which is 7% lower than the average across all programs. So we need our students to earn, some strong wages leaving their programs, and this shows that that's happening sometimes, but we'd like to see these numbers a little higher. Next. All right, these are the median annual earnings for students leaving. You see retail, hospitality, tourism follows the average across all CTE programs. Generally, the trend has been that these wages have increased over this time. With the exception of the last year there, 2019-20, exiting students earning $27,600, which is about $7,000 less than what students are earning across all programs. So again, this puts a premium on our students. We need to be paying living wages to our students exiting. Next. And the portion of students who attain the living wage. For the purpose of this analysis, it is the Chancellor's Office has used $18.10 per hour, which was the self-sufficiency standard from 2021. Since then, as Jermaine mentioned, that is with a lot of inflation, that's risen to about $23 per hour. So only about 1/3 of students are earning a living wage exiting these programs, compared to about half of students leaving all other programs. So there's room for improvement with all of these, basically. All right, next. All right, these are some more data on the target occupation. So some of these Diego covered. We have food service managers, flight attendants. You can see all the way down to lodging managers and gambling managers. These are organized in descending order of the number of jobs in 2022. You can see the largest being food services managers with nearly 13,000 jobs. We then look over to the 5-year change, 2022 to 2027, the percentage change. Most of these are expected to grow with the exception of a few. We see travel agents is projected to decline. It seems people can book their travel online and have figured that out. And then you see the wages there. We have the 25th percentile wage, the median hourly earnings, and the experienced wages for all of the occupations. When they fell below $18.10 per hour, I've highlighted those in red. And then right there in the center, the average annual openings. That's how many jobs are projected to be available annually. So even for those occupations that are in decline, there are replacement needs when incumbent workers leave or change jobs. Next. All right, so the last several slides are looking at job postings for all of those occupations. You can see over the last year that we looked at just over 24,000 job postings combined. Leading the way was food service managers, which is no surprise given that's the largest occupation, followed by the merchandise displayers and window trimmers, the chefs and head cooks, and then meeting, convention, and event planners, followed by lodging managers with all over 1,400 postings apiece. Next. Now, here are the job titles that emerge most frequently from those 24,000 job postings. So you can see general managers, followed by assistant managers, some restaurant managers, sous chef, many managers you can see on there. And that's how many times they were mentioned in job postings. And then on the right, we have the employers who posted the most during the time here. I know Marriott is here, Hilton is here, and others. You see a lot of fast food stuff for regional managers, particularly at the top. Next. And when we look at the average wage across all of those, so take this with a grain of salt because this is combining all of those occupations into one number, which does not do them justice. But over the last year, we see that the advertised wage has increased, going above 60,000 over back in September of just last month. And then when we look at the top cities with postings, unsurprisingly, LA leads the way with over 9,700 job postings. And you can see on down the line from Long Beach, Santa Monica, Pasadena, Torrance, Burbank, etc. So I hope that gives you some information related to where our students are. Here's my contact information if you have any questions. Thank you for joining us. And now we can get to the discussion. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Luke, for that. Next, we're going to move on to our roundtable discussion, which will be moderated by Jose and Jared. Just a little bit, some things we want to say, like Jermaine said, we do encourage a lot of conversation with this, but we also want to be mindful of those that are speaking. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box or raise your hand. And we are going to allot for 15 to 20 minutes of discussion per topic, just to be cognizant of everybody's time. And then after the discussion, it will be followed by a Q&A. So for that, I wanted to also present the 5 employers that we have here. First, we have Sarah, who is the Director of Talent Acquisition and University Recruitment at Marriott. Then we also have Jeffrey, who is the Director of Older Youth Initiatives for the Hilton Foundation. We also have Kathy, who is the Human Resources Manager for AEG, which deals with crypto, Peacock, as well as LA Live. We also have 2 people from Tourism Diversity Matters. We have Gregory, who is the Executive Director, as well as Yvonne, who is the Director of Operations. And lastly, we have 2 people from the Latino Restaurant Association, Lily, who is the Executive Director and CEO, and also April, who is the Special Projects Manager. So thank you so much for joining us, and then we'll start our discussion.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. So as Alicia mentioned, thank you so much for joining us. Very excited to kind of take over and begin this conversation about the hospitality industry. I want to address the state of the industry as mentioned in the supply and demand data, specifically with the college and the supply. 17 out of the 19 community colleges offer programs in an array of different occupations. So the talent is there. In regards to the demand, we see it growing 16% through 2028. as well as 14K job opportunities throughout the year. So very excited to kind of dive into our first topic, which is state of the industry, which is number one. And again, the way we can go about it is I'll present the conversation and the topic, and then we can kind of go from there. But question number one is, what do community colleges need to know about the current state and emerging trends of the hospitality industry? I would like to actually begin with Yvonne and Greg and then go from there. So Yvonne and Greg, floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you very much. Greg DeShields, Executive Director of Tourism Diversity Matters. As a national organization that helps to assist our organizations in tourism around workforce development, we've certainly taken a deep dive into this. I think what's most pressing for us in the industry is how we have effectively rebounded from COVID in a very positive way. So we see it in a variety of sectors. Now, once again, it's not across all sectors, but the majority of our sectors have seen a great rebound from COVID. However, we as an industry still have challenges as it relates to perhaps how we may have reduced staffing a little bit too deep. And to that degree, there is some desire to maybe not come back to our industry in as full force as we've had. And both U.S. Travel and the American Hotel Lodging Association has really communicated quite effectively that there is about a 10 million job gap in our industry. It's about 7%. So the reality of it is that we have the openings, but we don't have the workers. And that was I did put that question in the chat for Diego because I didn't know if in his statistics he had taken into account what that gap might be, or if that's just straight full employment. But generally speaking, as an industry, we still have some challenges as it relates to bringing back workers and getting our full workforce in the industry operating at top levels. Now, there are a couple of things that have certainly impacted that. There's a perception issue. I think for everyone who's in the industry, we know that we have to do a better job in terms of how we present our industry to attract individuals. We've always talked about you can come in as a dishwasher and be a general manager, and that's great. But when we look at both Gen Z as well as millennials and probably some alpha, that's not the way they want to pursue their career. So we have to come up with a better way in order to attract individuals to our industry. Our old selling point just really isn't necessarily having the same impact. The other is that there's just been some real challenges for individuals to want to work in our industry because it wasn't pretty coming out of COVID. Customers are far more demanding and have a higher degree of expectations. And I don't know about you, but if your flight was canceled, I hate to be the person who's standing on the first end of that 158 people whose flight now is not leaving until the next day. And you got to feel for that person who's standing there, who's maybe making $14 or $15 an hour, listening to 150 people question why their flight did not take off. So there's some real toxic environment that people just don't want to dive into. We also know that there's a gig economy now. The reality of it is that our industry was one that really filled the gap for a lot of people. You could be a bartender part-time, a housekeeper, a front desk agent, but now you can, deliver from DoorDash, and you can also drive for Uber or Lyft. And it's maybe even more convenient now for them than it ever was before. And the idea that there is a greater ability to have quality of life instead of quality of work. We've always thought we've got beautiful hotels and great facilities. So as an industry, while we certainly are seeing things rebound, we still have some real perception issues that we need to evolve. I did want to point out wages is still at top of the list. There are some very competitive industries out there. And if we're hovering between $15 and $25 an hour, that's just not a compelling case. And I should say that also doubles over when we look at health benefits as well, or just benefits in general. What are we offering that really is compelling for people to choose us over another industry? So even though we know that it's a terrific industry, it's an exciting industry, there are some real infrastructure issues that we need to address, especially because there's just growth in consumer demand. There's still a lot of pent-up money that people are spending on vacations and other things, which means our industry is moving in the right direction, but we're certainly experiencing a gap in terms of how we are able to fill the jobs that are needed.
Thank you, Greg. Great points. As we saw in the data, we did see that, after the pandemic, or when the pandemic hit, it took a vast hit on the industry. So now working with community college can be a perfect example of how we can help fill those gaps. So thank you for that, Greg. Now I kind of wanted to open it up to Kathy, see if you have any input on what you see community colleges that what they need to know with the current state, or any emerging trends that you see within the hospitality industry.
Thank you. I think we see a lot of what Greg just mentioned. Things aren't as pretty. With the pandemic, we had, a lot of our facilities closed because people weren't able to come and attend, or maybe we were limited in capacity. And now everything is opened up, and it may be the quality or people that want to deal with these customers that are demanding more, because now they are spending the few dollars that they have. It just makes it that much harder. But what we've also noticed is that, again, like Greg mentioned, maybe it needs to come in a K through 12 type of skill where we're introducing people. We just had an intern, that came from a university, and she was mentioning to us that they learn on Apple products now. And we're like, wow, so now we need to introduce people into like Microsoft Office. Microsoft 365 is big now. So little skills like those where we never thought that we had to look into, now we do. So we're looking at what do community colleges or universities as a whole, when they're looking at management classes, or even just hospitality driven courses, where we're like, wow, are they teaching them all these little things that maybe we just didn't see before?
No, that's a great point, Kathy. I love the fact that you brought up K through 12, because LARC, Los Angeles Regional Consortium, does a great job in the 19 community college of dual enrollment. So there's even more possibility there to partner up. So I agree with you, K through 12, and starting at a younger age and making sure that they have the understanding of what hospitality is as an industry can definitely address what Greg and what yourself just mentioned. So thank you for that, Kathy. Now I want to pass it on to Sarah, see if she has any input on this specific question.
I just want to give Greg a big hug, because that is exactly my experience. So everything you said, I could just put an exclamation point on that. At Marriott, we truly are seeing, like, COVID was rock bottom for us. We had never seen anything like that before. We were at 8% global occupancy. We've never been in single digits. And, we cut too deep. Honestly, frankly, that's my opinion. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but we did. And so, coming out of COVID, we came back much faster than we had anticipated, right? In 2021, even though, and COVID is still here today, but people were starting to travel much quicker than we thought. And so all of a sudden, our resorts were booming, ski and beach resorts, because those are all outdoor activities that people can feel safe doing. And we were strapped for people, both in the university space and just general hires at the front desk. All of our hotels needed that. And we're also seeing this shift in Gen Z, that there is this hesitancy to join this industry, even though maybe they've already declared a major or thought they wanted to do this. They're like, our hotel's unstable. Like, I don't know if hospitality is still right, even though right now we're back to pre-pandemic levels across the board. We are back to 2019 levels. We still need the people, but enrollments are dropping, and students are saying, to Greg's point, I don't want to be a dishwasher to get to a GM. I'd like to come out of school being a GM. Not going to work like that, right? But the attitude has changed, and the philosophy around hospitality for students has changed. So it's been a real struggle, because we have the supply in that our hotels need people, and the demand isn't there from the student. So it's been a little bit of a struggle, certainly in the university space. But frankly, everything Greg said is absolutely on point from Marriott's experience.
No, thank you, Sarah. I see a consistent issue here, and of course, is that pandemic was something very unique that we were unexpecting. So definitely recurring for that. We definitely see that. But again, great for this industry roundtable discussion. We have all the partners necessary here in the LA region to kind of move forward and thread the needle. So thank you for that, Sarah. Now I want to open it up to Jeffrey to see if he has anything to add.
Thank you, Jose, and good morning, everyone. First of all, let me make a point of clarification. I'm with the Hilton Foundation and not Hilton Hotels. Those are two very separate entities. And so I want to make sure that I clarify that.
And as Hilton Foundation, we are a philanthropy that does a lot of work in this space because of the fact that Hilton is in the hospitality business. And given that, I echo many of the sentiments that have been heard. And one of the things I would add to it is that many times that the hotel and hospitality industry, the retail industry, is an industry sector that's been a career choice of last resort. And as a result of that, many times it's hard to attract individuals, especially as Greg has already alluded to, who may have a different idea of the kind of life and job experience that they may be looking for. And it therefore is incumbent upon the industry sector. And I've worked with many hotels and restaurants in my role as a vice president of workforce development for a community college. We're not a part of LARC, but we were a part of another region, College of the Canyons. And in that role, I attended many of the local hospitality associations meetings and spoke there as well. And the same song is constantly being sung. There is a need for higher wages. There is a need for a more predictable scheduling type of arrangement, as well as wraparound opportunities for those who may have children who are in school. Several other issues that are not just isolated to the career itself also can be addressed, I believe, that may be able to attract individuals who may, for the time being, see this as an opportunity to enter the job market and to grow in that job market if there is a well-defined career path, and if the experience of being valued is added as a part of the work environment as well. So there are opportunities there, I believe, to be able to, again, add value that is not necessarily quantifiable to change the idea and perception of the hotel and restaurant industry in terms of being more attractive to not just young people, but non-traditionals as well. And keep in mind that in the typical community college, in especially the state of California, your average student is going to be in their mid-20s, and they're not necessarily going to be coming out of high school. And some of those individuals will be looking for positions and opportunities as well. Just a couple of examples, In-N-Out Burger has appeared to have created the secret sauce for being able to fill its positions and for being able to make sure it has plenty of jobs. Chick-fil-A is another. And so I do think there are practices out there that are certainly available for us to consider. Not that they can be completely imitated, but certainly learn from to see how they can be applied as well. And so that's something I think I would encourage from that standpoint for employers.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for that different perspective and for actually bringing great points in regards to how In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A seem to have a trend going on where they're able to pick up talent very quickly and fill their workforce needs. So thank you for that. Lastly, I just wanted to touch base with Lily to see if she has anything to add to this specific question. So Lily. Lily, I don't know if you are on mute, but
Sorry. I was on mute. So thank you so much. I was just saying that everything that Greg said, Kathy, Sarah, and Jeffrey, I cannot emphasize all of that. Being the head of the Latino Restaurant Association, as you can imagine, I hear a lot of this firsthand, echoing a lot of what Jeffrey said. Folks like the Chick-fil-A's, In-N-Outs, we don't represent them. We work hand in hand with the California Restaurant Association, who represents those type of employers. We represent a lot of the smaller mom and pops. About 71% of our members are under 10 locations, so it is smaller business. However, we do see that folks, again, echoing what Jeffrey said, have really started to get creative with the way that they, what they offer in terms of to their employees, because yeah, exactly. We've had, just a hard time with the labor shortage and all of these things that everyone just mentioned, piled up together don't make for the most attractive career choices. And so with that, being said, everything that everyone mentioned, careers, with a path to, or jobs with a path to career, higher wages, just really offering people a sense of, do I want to be, why do I want to be in this field? Now, one of the things that the association, we try to emphasize really there's more jobs out there than just front of house, back of the house. There's also a lot of other industry positions. We try to emphasize, the great chefs that we have and highlight those, maybe have some of the prospective employees just kind of get a sense of like what a day in the life is. So that's sort of one of the programs that we're doing in 2024, programs where we emphasize that, sort of like there's more to just, back of the house, front of the house, there's other jobs. And so that's all I can add right now to that question. But again, I echo what everyone else said. It just, all of that is, those are things that are happening in the industry, and it's very real.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lily, for that input. Definitely agree with you that employers do need to get a little creative, and I'm glad to see that's happening within your realm. So one of the biggest things and topics, and I know you mentioned consistently the same issue was, the need for, increasing the workforce. As we foresee in the upcoming future, we see events such as the FIFA World Cup, LA 28. So major events that we know are going to be problematic if we stay stagnant within this industry. So just curious to know what your organization is currently doing to prepare for these events. So Lily, I can actually begin with you to see if you have any input.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, we talked a little bit about the demand for technology. I think really being prepared. I think it was Kathy who mentioned, being a little bit more innovative. Like, for example, we're preparing for these major world events. However, we're still utilizing infrastructure from the past. And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about technology. For example, people that are coming in from other countries, they use WhatsApp a lot. So like, let's make some of our platforms more friendly to some of the applications that are used around the world to better prepare our customer service. We really have to be prepared for our visitors to have a seamless experience. However, that doesn't just apply to, our visitors. That's just the world and how it's evolving right now with the way technology is growing. Perhaps having a different, for our community colleges, having a different type of learning experience for the students, the traditional classroom, absolutely not cutting it. So having that adaptability to, give folks a learning experience, outside of the classroom that perhaps, technology, I don't know exactly what that may look like, but we're always open at the LRA for new and innovative ideas. So I think, just understanding that the younger folks or anybody, even like Jeffrey mentioned, some of the folks at community colleges in their 20s, they're going to be learning and adapting to, the working world in a different way. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that I, would like for you to take away because of that. Just doing things in a different way. It's going to be so beneficial.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lily. So from what I understood, technology is a big component that community colleges kind of need to kind of implement more and kind of change their way of, instructing to the hospitality industry in general. But thank you so much for that, Lily. I kind of want to go now to Jeffrey to see what he has to add.
Yes, given FIFA and of course the Olympics coming in 2024 and 2028 respectively, I think it's really a great opportunity. First of all, kudos to LA for being able to draw those kinds of world-class events. But there's some really great opportunities, I think, within the RHT sector to be able to increase the number of people who may have an interest in this space. One is providing the kind of pay that these kinds of events will be able to, so that these events will be properly staffed. One of the things you'll notice, and Gregory talked about this when he mentioned Uber or the gig economy, but one of the things you'll notice in the gig economy, if you're catching an Uber and you're trying to catch it between 4 to 6, you pay more because that's prime time. Well, this is prime time as well. And I think that the salaries and the wages that are going to be available during these major events needs to be taken into consideration and not pay the same type of wages that are being paid right now. This is prime time. We're inviting the entire world to these events, and therefore we want to put our best foot forward. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we're treating with equity, respect, and dignity those individuals who were expecting to do everything from cleaning the restrooms to being able to serve the food. They should be able to live in the city in which they work, at least be able to have a good shot at doing so. But in addition to that, after these events are over, there should be entrepreneurship opportunities offered to some of them, as well as the opportunity to go to college for free with free tuition and perhaps apprenticeship into those particular positions. And so when you look at the data that was presented in the lookbook, we know that many of the positions that are on the scale in which of the food and restaurant positions are largely in the Latino and African American communities. But when we talk about who's running these restaurants, who's running these hotels, who are the general managers, who are the assistant managers, there seems to be a wall. That wall needs to come down. And I believe that we need to look at the equity aspect of it, the cultural aspect of it, the financial aspect of it, and then the long-term aspect, making sure that when these events are over, we don't kick these employees to the side, but give them tools and resources to be able to use these events to springboard and catalyze their careers to be able to do bigger and better things, or even work within the industry itself.
Jeffrey, I would love to thank you for that comment, and definitely agree with you 100%. A career path versus a job that we kind of need to make sure that's being equitably presented across all the LA region. And again, going back to LARC, and in essence for these advisories, that's what they're working for, is building equitable pipelines across high growth industries. So thank you for that, Jeffrey. But you also made some great points, utilizing these upcoming events to promote the industry as well, but also to figure out a way how we can increase pay. So again, thank you so much for that, Jeffrey, and for your comments. Kind of want to segue into Sarah to see if she has anything to add.
Sure. I think something that Marriott has utilized in the past, particularly when there's large events, but also honestly on a regular basis in certain markets, is the gig economy. So having the availability to essentially have people be on call and enter sort of our cloud staffing portal so they can participate in whatever availability they'd like. That's how we've gotten working mothers back into the fold, college students who may not have, full-time availability into the fold, and they have the option to sign up for, high traffic weekends and things like that to get people to participate and hopefully staff those events.
No, that's great. The gig economy is something that's trending definitely here in the LA region, has been specifically with the new youth coming along within the industry. So, I think that's a great opportunity as well, as you mentioned, specifically make it more equitable and diverse for those individuals that schedule may not fit. So thank you for that, Sarah. Greg, Yvonne, anything you want to add to this specific topic?
Sure. I'll turn it over to Yvonne, and she'll tell you about a big project that we're working on in Los Angeles that's centered upon our apprentice program. But I just want to add, as it relates to the discussion around, post these groups, we happen to be based here in Philadelphia. That's also kind of vying to host some of these groups, and we've had some big ones as well. I think the issue is, once again, for industry to be mindful of retention and how we are able to not just hire these people and, kind of realizing that we don't have the best perception after what we did in COVID. The worst thing we could do is bring on a bunch of people and then let them go because we don't have opportunities. And we all know our business goes up and down. But I also think it's important, especially from the community college perspective, that there is an emphasis on understanding what are the transferable skills, because there's some great skill sets that individuals are going to get while they're in our sector during the course of these events, but could certainly transfer those over into healthcare or life sciences or other related industries that have some correlation to skill sets that they may develop. So I would encourage, as you look at the development of curriculum and you talk to them about career development, not just isolating their efforts around perhaps being a direct provider of guest services, but more importantly, how they can use some of those transferable skills that could allow for them to be involved in what will probably be emerging industries or industries that will just grow with more stability post those events. But I'll turn it over to Yvonne for now.
Yes, and I have a little bit of kickback. Hold on just a moment. Okay. Still kickback. Sorry. I did. Yeah. Are you hearing that on your end as well?
Yeah, we have a little echo, Yvonne. If you want, we can go to Kathy and then come back to you if that's okay with you, Yvonne, while you kind of figure out the issue. Unless you have it down. You're on mute, Yvonne.
Any better?
No, I think if you guys are in the same room, that's probably what's going to be the issue. I think Yvonne's transitioning to Greg's desk. But
No worries, I can go.
Okay, any better?
yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
yes.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
we had to make a little switch. Sorry about that. But yes, we have a great project that we are working on in the LA area. It is a project with with LA Tourism. And it's an apprenticeship program. And one of the pillars of our organization is workforce development. And through that pillar, we have apprenticeship programs around the country. But we're working on something specifically in LA with LA Tourism. We had great support from Jermaine and LAEDC, also with the several community colleges in the area, Rio Hondo. And we also spoke with Long Beach City College. And we've been working with the San Diego State University as well to create to surface candidates for this program. So our program actually pays our apprentices while they're going through the program. And at the end of the program, which will be 1,950 hours or a full year, the apprentices are able to apply for positions with the host organization or the partners. And there'll be about 6 partner organizations, including Dream Hotel, including the LA Tourism, Los Angeles City Tourism Office, and a number of others that will be participating in this program. And it's to help build diverse talent pipelines within the hospitality and tourism industry. So we were speaking about jobs and all the wonderful events that are coming to Los Angeles. And even though this will be a slower way of moving people into these roles, it's also a way of making sure that we're not only just looking for people for entry-level roles, but we're looking for people to move through the organizations into middle management, into leadership roles, because we're looking for the future leaders. We're looking for people that will lead the hospitality and tourism industry beyond our current state. And so this is a program that we'd like to continue to promote. We actually will be working with LA Tourism to hold interviews next month, and the apprentices will be brought on board in January to start their year-long program.
Thank you, Yvonne. I know in our prior conversation, you mentioned you would like it to be more equitable. So this is one of the main reasons that you joined the advisory as well, is to make sure you collaborate with all 19 community colleges in the LA region who might be interested. So thank you for that information. We'll definitely connect base after to make sure that we appropriately extend these opportunities across the 19 community colleges. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. We'd love to have them all as partners.
So thank you. So yeah, thank you. So now, Kathy, I know you wanted it, you had some input, so floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that we're actually very fortunate that with the 2028 Olympics, our facilities are part of that. So we do get to hire a little bit more. We also need to make sure that we're ready for the additional tourists that are coming in. We also are starting to adjust everything from like food and beverage service with technology and how people want the grab and goes. Fast, free now is what we've been told is what this generation likes. So trying to be innovative in everything from ticket sales to food and beverage. But yes, we know that we are having big events such as these that we're very fortunate to host, but we're trying to gear up and prepare for it. And as you know, community college and other college partners, we would just love to have that talent base at our hands.
No, thank you, Kathy. Again, it seems to be that transitioning to technology is a major concern, and you know, adapting to those skills is something that needs to be addressed amongst the community colleges. So thank you so much for that. I kind of want to shift now to workforce development and the topic in itself and the importance. I mean, it's stated across each and every one. So first question, kind of want to dive right into it, is what training credentials and certificates are in high demand within the industry? So any certificates that you feel are needed for your current openings or in the future, or certificates that can lead these students and young adults into these openings. So Kathy, kind of want to start with you and just kind of go back.
I'm not sure what certificates would be the best. I know that when I started taking community college classes and was looking at like supervisory, what can I deal at a higher scale type of just issues that come up in a customer service and type of related. I mean, I was an assured ticket taker. So for me, it was like, how can I be better at my job? So things that are just a little higher level that you don't typically get in a part-time type of role or entry level type of role. You usually see those as you're growing through your career, advancing through your career. Not sure what else, but
any soft skills that you recommend the colleges prepare the students for?
communication in general. I think a lot of people don't know the basics of email and calls and communicating with your supervisors and professionalism. Those are things that we see them as very basic, but we don't see them as much anymore because everyone's so text message driven.
No, thank you, Kathy. And just an FYI, Kathy's being very modest, but she's actually a byproduct of the community college system like myself. And now she's a HR manager. So just wanted to applaud her and, you know, make sure that she gets her credit because I know she's being a little modest, but her input is very appreciated and it gives a different perspective for everyone here. So thank you so much, Kathy. I'd like to go to Greg.
Sorry, can I just jump in for a second?
Yeah.
I just wanted to echo completely what Kathy just said. In my opinion, you don't need a fancy certificate in order to work in this industry. You need to have passion, you need to have care, and you need to be able to communicate with other people. So the more we can impart that into the students, like I can teach someone how to make a bed, how to make a macchiato, how to check in a guest. Those are all technical skills, right? They're good to have. And it's great that you have previous experience in that, but I can't teach you to be a nice person. And ultimately, the person on the other end of that front desk or that table in the restaurant just wants someone who thinks that they're the only person in the room. So how can you impart that passion and that good, positive communication with others to your students? That would go such a long way. And it also would translate to the students in how they manage their staff. So my primary goal in university recruitment, I specifically recruit for something called the Voyage program, which is our management trainee program. So anyone entering that program is going to be supervising other people. And again, there's technical skills required and all of that. But I always, the best advice, students all the time say, you know, what's your best advice for someone, you know, coming out of college? What should I do? And I say for the first 2 weeks, don't do your job. I want you to take your time and get to know every single person on your staff. What is their name? Do they have a family, children? What are their hobbies? What motivates them to come to work? If we can impart that to students, that our industry is about building relationships and being able to have good interpersonal communication with others, we will absolutely rise as an industry. But the more we have the people here, business acumen is important, sure. But again, the more we have students more focused on the business acumen piece and less focused on the people piece, it's not going to work for anyone, because at the end of the day, we're the service industry, we're a people industry. So thank you for that, Kathy. I agree.
No, thank you, Sarah. Actually, you mentioned a key component, which is the people industry, which brings a great opportunity for curriculum development and implementation. So you as industry experts, I know LARC and the community college are looking for experts like yourself to kind of give some input within some of their curriculum. So that's a great, you and Kathy mentioned the importance of, those soft skills and how we should need to emphasize that a little bit more. So thank you so much for that. I want to go back to Greg and Yvonne to see if they have anything to add in regards to any training credentials, certificates, or if they just want to kind of hone in on what Sarah and Kathy said.
So what I would certainly, and I agree 100% on the soft skills. I mean, if you're getting into this industry, you really have to love people, serving people, and have a high degree of pride in, being a professional in a service industry. But I would also say in today's world, it's really important. It was mentioned earlier about, knowledge and skill sets using the basic Microsoft package. And I would just emphasize that those tools are what allows for us to do a whole lot more problem solving in our industry than we could have before. The time that it would take for us to sit down and do a payroll analysis in the past took a whole lot longer than for us to use some of the software and technology that's out there today. And I got to be honest with you, I have someone who joined our organization and does not know anything about how to use Excel, which is mind-boggling. But there was a gap of education for those, and I'm sure some of you academics are aware during COVID that there was some content that maybe students didn't absorb the way that they would have in a classroom because they were at home. So I think this underscoring of providing students with knowledge and skill sets to use the tools that are necessary. A lot of our properties and organizations are now using technology in order to facilitate the guest experience. So whether it's the kiosks at check-in or whether it's the room service technology that they're using, I mean, there's a greater demand for individuals to have some comfort and degree with that. And then I'd also say, and it's not necessarily for a lot of the frontline workers, but some who might work in the sales and do remote work, that their ability to use things like Teams and Zoom and all of the other platforms effectively to stay connected with their team, because for a lot of individuals, and that's where soft skills may have to come in, to teach people how to work remotely, but also how to use that technology effectively in order to do it. So while it shouldn't necessarily be the big bar that you use in order to say this is what someone needs, without any doubt, that should be woven into classrooms in a way that students can step out and go to a property and stand in front of a point of sale system or property management system, or they can sit in a sales meeting and pull up a sales chart and help do some analysis and edit it accordingly. Just because that's the nature of all the work that we do now. And I think that will help add them value, but it also supports that idea of what's transferable. Because if you can do an Excel spreadsheet in tourism, you can also do that in an accounting firm as well. So I would just say that that would be my emphasis of what kind of skill sets, or at least credentialing or certificates they should get.
Those are great points, Greg. I think at times what we do as well is we kind of assume that they're going to have these skills. So that's a great point that you mentioned, these technology skills and soft skills, specifically basics in, Microsoft Suite. It's going to be big in this industry. So thank you for that. I know, Jeffrey, as Greg was speaking, you were nodding your head. So we'd love to kind of have you input on what you were thinking.
Yeah, I just want to say, echo what all has been shared from Kathy, from Sarah, and from Greg as well. It's just been great insights. And in page 33 of the lookbook, in going over that, 65% of the jobs that were posted required only a high school degree or a GED, but 35% of them required a bachelor's degree. And in listening to the comments, I wonder how it got up to 35%. It's really not what you know in this industry sector as it is what you can do, and having those proper skill sets that are able to be, again, translated into a positive work environment. I think one of the most important skill sets in the hospitality industry is the ability to work well with others. If you can do that, I think you're going to be just fine. That's just one, but there are a dozen others. But certainly the ability to be approachable, the ability to be teachable, Those are critical. And I think once we are able to instill at the community college level those types of values in the curriculum, I think you're going to have some pretty great people who will graduate. I want to give kudos to Yvonne. Congratulations on that apprenticeship. I think it would be great for LARC to do a 19 community college apprenticeship with DAS. Certainly, I'd be willing to help work with you all on developing that as a part of the Division of Apprenticeship Standards in the state of California. But those types of on-the-job learning and while you earn, I think will also create those values that can again be provide a value add as employees to those two respective organizations such as Marriott, Hilton, and all the rest as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Learn while you earn is it's a great theory and program specifically for the marginalized populations. It helps them a lot, and it allows them to kind of understand but also earn while they work. So thank you for that, Jeffrey. Want to pass it on and segue to Lily to add anything that you feel, any training credentials, certificates that are in high demand within the industry, as well as any soft skills that you feel are very important.
Same as the others, the soft skills, obviously this is an industry, it's a people industry. So love that we're discussing about being teachable. That is so important. One of the things I do see that I feel is something that is something we haven't touched upon is like mentorship. We do see that a lot of folks do get into whatever industry. I'm talking about the culinary industry, and then they're kind of like left on their own. So they might be getting, certifications, they might be getting some help with, education, but then we need to have those mentors being able to help them out. And also just with Latino and African American students, what I see is that we don't have the connections. We don't have the connections that we need, and a lot of times to get ahead. So I do see, I just hired somebody from valedictorian from her high school, went on to UC Berkeley, valedictorian at UC Berkeley. And by the way, I was also a community college transfer. So I went to Pierce College and then I transferred to UC Berkeley. And then she graduated, she's working in our industry, but couldn't find a job. And I was like, how could this be? How could this be that, this person, and then she, having conversations with her and others that similar, she just doesn't know anyone. She doesn't know people. So, of course, I'm of the generation that probably knew less people as well, but now I have an opportunity to help her a little bit. But I do see that we need that, we need an area where there's mentors and people that can help the young people after they've received some education, some certifications, where they have those networking opportunities as well, because I do see that right now there's a big gap there. So that's my addition.
No, thank you, Lily. And kind of want to touch base still on workforce development. And you mentioned this earlier, your current workforce. So we see a need for the current workforce in general to have the ability to rescale. The community colleges have the opportunity to assist with that. So I want to kind of bring up, what challenges do you see in upscaling your current workforce?
Well, going back to the soft skills, I do see a lot of issues with communication. I feel that, whether it was COVID or whatever it is, not sure exactly, but I do see that's a skill that we need to definitely hone. Within the culinary, again, we're having, we have a bad PR problem. People just don't see it as a real career. People see it as, temporary. This is just something to get by. And for the most part, sometimes that's the reality of it. However, there are real careers. There are lots of different opportunities in hospitality, culinary world, restaurant world. And so I think that's kind of changing that narrative, helping people see that there are, more opportunities. That's something that we're having a challenge with. Obviously, we discussed what restaurants are doing now to to attract workers. So they're definitely getting creative. Small businesses as well as large corporations. You know, we had mentioned Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out. Smaller companies are also doing, you know, job sharing. You know, we heard about the pet insurance. We've heard about higher wages. So so there's still a long way to go. The restaurant industry has not recovered from COVID, especially the smaller restaurant, small business owners. And so we do have a way to go.
Oh, thank you, Lily. So, again, I just wanted to address the opportunity with the community colleges to help assist some of your partners like Lily that you're working with and you know, and your current employers here to rescale your current workforce. So, just want to address any challenges that you foresee or that you have been having with your current workforce in regards to rescaling. So maybe if you have a cook and they can kind of move on to a manager position, is there you know, training that needs to be provided in that nature? So Jeffrey, anything that you want to add to this specific question?
Other than the fact that many of the grantees that we supported the Hilton Foundation are experiencing, and this is nationwide, we're experiencing obviously a dearth, if you will, of or lack of folks who are both interested in and folks who are applying for these particular roles. And we're finding employers having to be a lot more flexible than ever before to be able to make that happen. But community colleges, you know, also being able to get students to take the classes, to be able to take the curriculum is also a challenge. And so I think that that's something where, again, some more innovative ideas about how to articulate the value of this sector and the careers that are within it needs to be considered and messaged out.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Sarah, I know Marriott International is doing great things in regards to rescaling. Would love to kind of hear more from you on that end and how you can partner up more with the community colleges.
Yeah, so we are working on some apprenticeship programs internally. So they may be scaled externally as well, but really starting with someone who maybe is a dishwasher, a cook, a facilities management engineer, and how we are making them sort of, you know, for lack of a better term, an internal apprentice to get the training needed to become that next level. We offer a lot of supervisory skill training. We have a vast online library. People can get eCornell certificates. So we are doing a lot just with our internal learning and development to upskill those who are interested in moving up throughout our organization. You know, I do agree, you know, with Lily and Kathy, who both mentioned, again, communication. Like, I think that's a huge piece, especially with someone who is, you know, maybe Gen Z or Alpha, who is very used to communicating via shorthand and text message and not making eye contact. Like, that's crazy to me that someone wouldn't make eye contact during an interview, but we see it all the time. So, you know, honing in on like those little things would be very helpful in training kind of people to make it to that leadership level. Because, you know, for example, if you're a cook, your head is down most of the time because you're looking at your work, right? You're not looking at your peers or your associate. But when you're a chef, you need to look your cook in the eye to explain to them what to do or how to lead them. So definitely just like soft leadership skills on how to motivate and coach other people to, you know, truly be seen as a leader, not a lifer. We need lifers in our industry, of course, but, you know, if someone is truly looking to move up, I want them to be able to have people follow them. So whatever skills that, you know, those on the line feel are necessary to really get someone prepared to manage others.
No, thank you so much for the input of what Marriott's doing. And a consistent thing that I hear, it's, you know, maybe some opportunity for the colleges to offer some training within those soft skills that are much needed to become that managerial role. So thank you so much for that. So Greg, Yvonne, anything you want to add to this specific topic?
You know, the apprentice program that Yvonne has described, you know, we began by reminding employers that the best candidate for it are the employees who you already have. And we're big advocates about those who are, you know, in existing roles, find a career path within the organization that they are currently working. And for some, that's a great win. because it's less of a learning curve that you might have to put in. It might be easier to, recruit a new room attendant and have the pride of promoting a room attendant to a front desk clerk. So we're strong advocates about the apprenticeship program working first internally and then externally. I think, though, it's really important from the community college perspective that they are building a deeper knowledge of the hierarchy of our industry, because that becomes problematic for those who may not know the distinct difference of working at Marriott corporate or Marriott franchise or working for an independent, and realizing that, a line cook in one place maybe doesn't have the same opportunities as they might in a different type of property, and learn how they can navigate through that. It doesn't mean that they run flat, but it is in some properties more corporate that has broader options of either transferring from one property to another, that you can grow your career one way versus one that might be an independent, and how you would navigate that. And I think that kind of upscaling is really important as individuals are trying to determine where would I go next, just understanding what's that hierarchy of the industry and the property that I'm in, so that then be able to maneuver successfully.
No, that's perfectly put. And I just wanted to touch base on what Dr. McKean said in the chat. Lark actually is also placing high emphasis and has played high emphasis on apprenticeship. So, a lot of room for partnership here, and definitely agree with what you just mentioned, Greg. And just wanted to pass it on to Kathy for any final thoughts on this topic.
I just wanted to say that at AEG, I think that we have been looking at all those things for quite a few years now. And within our facilities, we implemented an Encore LA, which is a very customer service Disney program. It came from Disney. We look to the industry that's a very customer service driven, and have been able to apply it here, where now it's more, it's not just the thing we do, but as a company, it's a culture, company culture. So things that would teach that type of skill, and then also just giving them the opportunity. We're also going into learning management systems, where we're able to provide additional training that people can take at their own leisure. I just feel very proud of that, because as companies, I think we need to look at how can we do more for our employees.
Definitely. I love the last point that you mentioned. How can companies work to, retain? I know that was a big issue earlier, retaining their employees. And I think reskilling and partnering up with the community colleges is a big way to retain. And it makes it much easier, as Greg pointed, is just to bring someone on new and retaining those employees. So thank you so much for that. I now want to allow my colleague, Jared, to kind of take over a portion of the narrative. So Jared, the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you. So something I'm sure you guys have noticed that we've emphasized throughout the whole thing is this idea of collaboration, making sure that we're connecting employers with community colleges to really build these relationships and continue on from, just this conversation into actually developing some tangible pathways for students into these job opportunities. So I really want to spend this last part of the discussion on thinking on very specifically, like, how can we build those collaborations? So I'm curious, general question for everyone is, how can community colleges help you address these workforce needs that we've laid out? And if you were to build a curriculum with a community college or with Lark, what would these curriculums look like? You can talk about internships, we've talked about apprenticeships, but from your organization's needs and your specific part of the industry, what would that ideal hospitality curriculum look like? So let's start with Lily, from kind of a restaurant point of view. How would you answer that question?
Again, some of the things that we mentioned, apprenticeship and, other labor-related programming. Ideally, restaurants obviously would love to have that pipeline, direct pipeline with the community colleges. I know that that's not possible. There's a lot that needs to happen in between. I think having, whatever opportunities that we can help as the kind of the group of restaurant owners with the community college, perhaps dialing into what's already in existence. I know, like, for example, LA Trade Tech, their culinary is amazing. I know that they do a lot with the community. I know that they just had their chef conference. A lot of our members were part of it. a few of our members, sorry, a few of our chefs. So I think, you know, that in that way, it helps the students kind of get excited about culinary. I feel like that particular event, I bring it up because of the fact that, you know, it was exciting. It was on Instagram, you know, it's beautiful, there's food, you know, and it's a way for the student body there to really get excited about culinary. So I feel like, you know, with all of the, you know, the regular, you know, apprenticeships and already established programs, yeah, absolutely, definitely need to dial into that a little bit more with more of the community colleges. But then again, trying to find these kind of experiences that we can collaborate on together to get folks excited about culinary. I feel like that's something that we can really, you know, get behind, or we would love to participate. Maybe there's there's more opportunities there with the association. Because I know, like, for example, we have access to chefs, we have access to, you know, a lot of the personalities, the influencers that we work with. And so that could be an area where, you know, bringing those together with the students could be something. So, you know, in terms of what the curriculum might look like, yeah, thinking a little bit outside of the box with that. And again, because, you know, we've seen the numbers, a disproportionate amount of the workers are, you know, Latinos, African American, you know, people of color. So let's use this opportunity to really, you know, bring our chefs, bring our African American chefs, bring our Latino chefs, and do some really exciting events, and you know, show that, hey, there's a whole different world of culinary that isn't just about, you know, being here, being there, but there's so much more. So.
Great points. Yeah, I think thinking about it from the student's point of view, and it sounds like there have been issues in terms of just getting adjusted to the new kind of culture with Gen Zers and alphas, and finding ways to engage them in the curriculum in the first place, as well as get them invested in these pipelines is a really good point. Kathy, I'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, from AEG's point of view, what that ideal curriculum might look like for your part of the industry.
I think that even as a student, you don't always know what's available out there. So having those pipelines definitely helps. But there's also so many other opportunities that I think they just don't know, especially the ones that just go to school and leave and not really have a traditional college experience. But, you know, sorry, it's not Sarah, it's Lily. She was mentioning about TRATEC. I went to TRATEC, and I remember them having events where they would have food events. And if those opportunities are presented to students as, this is an event that you can volunteer, that you can participate in, and those are the ones that you are transferable skills, you can put it onto a resume so that you can show that you have the ability to do XYZ for an employer, those things stand out. I don't need to see a year of customer service on a resume. I need to know that you've been exposed to the type of work that we do. Yeah,
great point. I think the real world experience you can't really replicate necessarily in a classroom. So being able to have those things on a resume is very important. Sarah and Jeffrey, any thoughts from the hospitality hotels point of view?
Yes, absolutely. So much echoing Lily and Kathy, of course. I saw Dr. Lee posted in the chat about financial acumen. So I think from a curriculum point of view, financial acumen would be great, just so they can, again, start to get exposure to food costs, labor productivity, things like that. That's wonderful. One thing I caution against, so you know, I'm just gonna, I guess, contradict myself here, but a lot of students get this exposure to the financial acumen, to revenue management, and all of a sudden that's super sexy and they want to work in that department, and you can tell they're not the fit for that. They think they are, but they're not. And furthermore, in industry, our jobs are in operations. You know, the majority of what we need, for example, speaking for the whole organization, but just like a little microcosm of the Voyage program, I'm being asked to recruit 700 management trainees this year, 600 of which are in hotel operations, whether that's front desk, food and beverage, banquet operations, working for one of our select brands. I have 5 in revenue management, 5 in human resources, 5 in sales, 30 in accounting, and 28 in event planning. So those numbers just don't lie. Like the need is in operations. So the more we can get our students exposed to what it's truly like to work in the industry, whether that's in lodging, in restaurants, et cetera, to know what they're showing up for, that you're on your feet all day, right? You're running around like crazy sometimes. You have to think quickly and solve problems, and no 2 days are the same, rather than get excited about sitting, working at a desk. Because there is that opportunity in hospitality too, but certainly the bigger operators, that's kind of your next step after working in the operation first. So there will always be a niche, tiny opportunity for a select few students, but the vast majority we need are going to be truly living and breathing, lodging or restaurant operations all day, every day. So yes, let's do, more curriculum, but let's also do more internships or more opportunities to partner and have students come and get exposed to the types of events or meetings or large groups in-house that we have. Particularly, I mean, we have a huge footprint in LA County and the greater Los Angeles area. So the more we can partner and have students do tours and understand what it's going to be like truly being in that industry, the better.
Great. Anything you'd like to add to that, Jeffrey?
No, other than the fact that the community college in California, having worked for the community college for 6 wonderful years, has always been a trendsetter in terms of how careers can be defined. And I think this is an opportunity to do the same as well, but nothing to add to all the great comments that have been made. Thank you.
Great. So I know, Yvonne and Greg, you guys have actually partnered with some of our community colleges here. Kind of want to take this same question, but through a different lens. For someone who has worked with community colleges, what are some of the kind of recommendations you might have as some of these employers start to try to partner? What are some of the challenges, and what kind of advice would you give to employers and community colleges as they start looking to enter some kind of working relationship?
So, it's interesting. We're here actually at Temple University in Philadelphia, and I spent 13 years here as an administrator as well as an adjunct faculty. And I've also worked with our community college here in Philadelphia, teaching hospitality courses for about 6 years. So I would turn it a little bit different. One of the things that I would say is that, faculty and administration at community colleges should be much more woven into the industry. And I have to do a big shout out to Marriott as well as Hyatt. I did do their faculty internships, which were an incredible way for faculty to really understand the inner workings of our industry. And I think now, because the industry is evolving at such an incredible rate, that for faculty to be as knowledgeable and prepared to guide their students as much as possible, I would encourage them, without any doubt, to spend as much time as they can and bring some of that practical knowledge and experience that they have into the classroom, because then I think their classroom assignments, their curriculum, as well as the expectations that they are preparing their students to meet can be much more aligned with reality. As it relates to the relationships, and a big shout out to the folks at Rio Hondo, they have been amazing for us to connect with, because they have a lot that they've really invested in their curriculum, which is fantastic for us to know what their students are capable of and what their students' desires are. We've been invited to their career fair, which is fantastic for us to be able to go out and actually talk to their students firsthand and help to give them a sense of what the industry is. And then from the perspective of how we are able to share with them specific opportunities in the industry beyond the obvious. I mean, we all know there's a front desk, and we all know that there's a restaurant, and there's a kitchen, but what about destination management, or working at a convention and visitors bureau, or working for Encore, which is one of the biggest employers in our industry right now for event production. So it is also about how we are able to kind of expand the knowledge and the opportunities for students to be able to, and that's through our curriculum, to not have destination management as one small portion of a lesson plan, but that we spend some time and talk about the difference between a destination management organization and a convention and visitors bureau, and learn about the breadth of technology that's spread across the industry and the opportunities that some of those organizations are offering, especially students who come from diverse communities. So I once again say it would be great for faculty to spend time, but also to talk more about the career beyond what we see as the normal opportunities.
Great. Anything you'd like to add to that, Yvonne? I think she's going to scoot on over to Greg's desk.
No, Greg basically said it all, but it's, we've been very fortunate to have very good working relationships with, as Greg mentioned, Rio Hondo and several other institutions that have been willing to work with us. And we have been talking to them about making sure that their students really do understand all that's available in the industry. We talked to several students today. We were here today at Temple University, as Greg said, at a career fair. And we talked to a number of students who just still don't know all that's available to do within this industry. And it's really incumbent upon these institutions to make sure that they give the students a very broad experience and knowledge about everything that you can do within this industry. Almost anything you can do in another industry, you can do here in the hospitality and tourism industry as well. You can be a CFO, you can do graphic design, Marcom, public relations. All of those things are things that people don't realize, especially a lot of students in school now don't realize that you can actually do in this industry as well.
Great. Thank you very much. So I want to be mindful of everyone's time. We're 15 minutes away from 1. If anyone here has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll save some time at the end to do some quick Q&A. I do want to quickly touch on something Greg mentioned, which is just technology. And, with AI, with automation, I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts about how that's going to affect the things you're looking for, how it's going to affect your workforce, and how it's going to affect some of the challenges you might be seeing going forward. And I'll open it up to anyone who feels the need or has an answer for it. So feel free to just unmute yourself and speak.
Can I say something?
Of course, go ahead.
Well, just thinking about technology and how you guys are connected to all these community colleges, is there a way that there can be like a job board where all the people in that are job seekers that we can, as employers, just post to one location and reach a large majority of the pool?
I can touch base on that, Jared. So, we'll be following up. I know we sent a post, we sent already a survey, but we're going to be following up as well with another survey that we're actually going to be able to connect you with Lark's team to answer some of these questions, but also extend the partnership and see how we can collaborate to fill those workforce gaps. So just wanted to throw that on and put that into consideration as well.
Any other thoughts about technology as it affects your workforce's skills or the things that they'll need to prepare for before entering the workforce?
I'd like to chime in. Anthony DeLorenzo, Rio Hondo College adjunct professor. So we are a 100% online program offering hospitality, an AS degree in hospitality. One issue, and you talked about AI, when we think about the hospitality industry, and it's been around for a long time, AI is moving very, very fast. It is changing the industry. It's influencing how we learn, how we work. Hospitality has always been a humanistic approach. When we have tools like AI, what we don't want and what we don't want to see is that reliance on AI and having individuals present guest services in a humanistic way. So I see that in our academic world, we're trying to sway our students to not rely so much on AI, use it as a tool, as a research-based application to have them brainstorm, but always rely on, I would say, the 3 Ps of our industry. And we talked about this, and I heard a lot of themes on this, on the people, on the passion and the professionalism of our industry. So understanding what is the engine that moves our industry, it's the people. And transforming them, providing them the inspiration of how to move forward and exciting them. And we also heard about the soft skills, and which is really, really needed in our industry. So providing that professionalism is absolutely important. And as Greg mentioned, and he has provided us a great opportunity to partner with him with TDM. Providing the apprenticeship, the networking, those are all important, especially in this time. So the partnerships and networking, we greatly appreciate.
Great. Thank you for that, Anthony. I think, yeah, maintaining the idea that this is a people industry, even amidst a lot of technological innovation and rapidly moving and growing technology is going to be very important. So the last question topic I want to talk about before we get to a close here is really
Jared,
thinking
real
through...
quick, sorry to cut in. You've got a
yeah, go
couple
ahead.
questions in the chat, it looks like. Looks like Jim Lancaster, and I think earlier on, Dr. Looks like Lee had a question.
Sure, yeah, I can get to those. Yeah, let me get to those right now then. Okay, so from Jim, we have, with the goal of our CTE curriculum to be both accurate and precise as it pertains to the targeted occupational outcome, and ensuring our students complete the programs having mastered the skills and performance outcomes necessary for sustainable employment, are employers willing and or able to send those currently working in the occupation to be a part of a skills panel where we can develop the skills hierarchy and performance outcomes required of key occupations in the industry? So I think we're basically asking, are employers able to send people to help community colleges understand kind of the set of skills needed in order to kind of find jobs and pursue good performance outcomes in the industry? Is that something that employers here have done or are willing to do? Seeing nods from Kathy. Anyone have any input on being able to do that, or if you have done that already? Okay, no input. So something we will do, just to be mindful of the faculty and deans here, is that we will send an employer survey out after this, so that we'll be able to get the thoughts of our employers here around what types of events, partnerships they're willing to pursue, and then we'll be able to share that with the community colleges so we can figure out how to collaborate further.
Thank you, Jared. I know Dr. Lee had his hand raised. I don't know if you want to mute yourself and kind of address the question you had in the chat. Allow you for that to happen. So, Dr. Lee.
Sure. Thank you, Jose. Thank you so much. This is Cervantes Lee. I'm a teacher at Las Vegas UNLV, but I actually live in West Covina. I'm 100% LA County folks. Yeah, my observation is, thank you, this is a great event. And then I just one thought, other than the post there, I actually feel if we do so much CTE, so much work for our students, they still get below poverty line job salary. That's something we are not working on a good job to helping our students. So I saw the first few slides, our students still earning CTE below, after CTE program, after the associate degree, college degree, still earning very low job, below 30,000. I'm actually very sad. So I want to encourage, we can actually think about the whole industry, hospitality, retail, and restaurant can get a higher job. And then one thing is actually soft skills is very, very important. That's number one. You hire their hospitality spirits before everything. And the second thing is actually give them a tool for marketing. Yeah, marketing, you can bring the sales, you bring the salary, because better sales performance, either hotel or restaurant, better pay. Number two is when they move up further, they need business acumen. They need accounting, the basic accounting management, so that they can manage multiple hotel, multiple restaurants. So even they don't want to do on the line to do the store manager job, they can do horizontal movement. They can move to supply chain. They can move to field HR. They can move everywhere, but they need to be store manager first. That's why I really want to encourage. I know this LEDC, LA County, our school is in Vegas, but I still work with a lot of community college in Nevada State. We always go to high school CTE program to promote. We also go to the community college to promote why we need a 4-year degree. 2-year degree is very, very important, but once you want to move on to the multiple general manager for hotel, you actually sometimes you need master degree. So we still encourage education is one thing. And then of course they need to move on the different level first. But we want them to get higher pay. They can take care of their family and take care of their friends. Thank you so much. Thank you. Amazing conference. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for your input. You know, what you mentioned and the emphasis on CTE and dual enrollment and how we need to address them at a younger age, and also how we can raise the wages within hospitality by thinking about the marketing as well. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Lee, and your input. Um, I just want to open up for anyone to unmute themselves and engage with these industry experts. I know Sarah with Marriott did mention in the chat that she did have to step away, but she put in her information, as well as we'll be following up with her with a survey that we would definitely share with everyone. But again, just wanted to open it up for any questions that anyone has. Feel free to unmute. So if anyone doesn't have any more questions, just want to again thank you so much for participating. I actually will we'll be launching a poll that kind of will want to get your feedback on the advisory today, but also want to pass it back to my VP and colleague Jermaine Hampton for any last thoughts or words that he may have. Jermaine?
Yeah, no last thoughts. Really just want to thank everybody and thank you again to our partners at the LARC for allowing this opportunity. Thank you again to all the dean and faculty across all the colleges that are on the call. And obviously, you know, definitely big thanks to our industry partners who are on the call today. I know I have lots of conversations with Lily and Jeffrey in particular as they are on the LADC board. And so thank you all again. I mean, I think this was a great conversation today. We got a lot of good data to help drive the conversation. And then I think a lot of the context from the employers and then the feedback from faculty was very helpful. And I would just really just, you know, kind of highlight the fact like there's a lot of opportunity, right? There's a lot of ability for growth and prosperity. I think there's a few people that kind of highlighted the AI piece. And so I would encourage folks to figure out how to leverage AI properly, right? We certainly do not want AI to take the place of teachers. And I think that's one of the comments that was in the chat. You cannot code lived experience, right? You cannot code engagement and building rapport with students. And the reality is folks learn differently, right? You have individuals with disabilities, you have veterans, you have all types of individuals, returning citizens, and the lived experience is huge. And I think there's awesome value in what our teachers obviously bring to the table. And so with that being said, I want to continue to just, obviously, we know AI is here. We know AI is definitely here when it comes to hospitality and a lot of these kiosks that are popping up everywhere you go. But the reality is we need our teachers, we need our educators. So ways that you guys can work with our employer partners and LADC can, you know, continue to be a facilitator of this. We encourage those partnerships and those collaborations. And thank you all again. Obviously, if you want continued data, please visit ladc.org. And I will pass it over back to Jose. Thank you.
Yeah, no, again, just want to reiterate and take the time to thank Kathy with AEG, Greg and Yvonne with Tourism and Diversity Matters, Sarah with Marriott International, Jeffrey with Hilton, and then Lily with the Latino Restaurant Association. Your feedback was incredible, and I'm sure it was very beneficial. Would also love to thank Lark and Luke as well with Center of Excellence and our community colleges here. As mentioned, we'll follow up in an email with the PowerPoint presentation, the industry lookbook, as well as with the recording. We will also be following up with a post survey as well with the employer partner, so we can kind of make sure that we continue this collaboration because it's one thing to speak about it, but one thing that we got to make sure specifically with everything that was mentioned is make sure that we establish those partnerships. So again, thank you so much. I think there is a quick question that we have a few minutes here. Real quickly, I think, I don't know, Kenny, do you want to unmute yourself real quick? So, Kenny.
Yes, sorry about that. I have a little one at home, so might be a little noisy on my background. It's a newborn, so I apologize for that, you know. So really quick, you know, I was thinking about this because I've been knowing a lot of people in the, you know, who work in the restaurant industry, and actually as firsthand, my husband, he actually did a culinary program at Long Beach City College, and he actually, you know, he was in the restaurant industry as a cook for, you know, maybe 7-8 years. And he struggled when it came to promotion, right? Even though he had, he went through a set of courses, even at the community college himself, to kind of develop like some sort of soft skills as well. But it seemed like, in the restaurant industry, there were certain guidelines, I guess, to when it came to promoting to like general manager. It came for more like not what you know, more of who you know. So so he wasn't motivated to continue there, so he switched careers. And now thinking of that, it makes me wonder, how can we either break that barrier or kind of encourage students, because it's kind of creating a bad reputation for the restaurant industry. So how can we encourage students to say, hey, this is a great program for you to invest your time in, because there is great potential out there, and we know, and actually other people who actually pay thousands of dollars for this private culinary schools, and now they're not even working in the industry anymore. They're working somewhere else. They switch careers. So it seems like it's, one, it's a hard industry to get in because it's highly competitive as well, when it comes to promoting. So I'm just thinking now, as I wanna, I'm gonna be actually working at East LA College on a non-credit hospitality program for students. So I'm trying to think, how can I best promote this, especially with our Latino community, because most of our Latinos end up working in restaurants, starting as dishwashers, and they hope to move up the chain.
Go ahead, Lily.
Oh, no, thank you so much for that. We hear that quite a bit. And, again, one of our goals for 2024 is to make sure that as the Latino Restaurant Association, we are, showing folks that there's so many different areas in the culinary industry that you can work in, and making things a little bit more exciting. Yeah, it's unfortunate that happened. I'm really sorry, but unfortunately that does happen to a lot of people. I do feel like the industry is changing, of course. There's, with technology, with the different generations, the different ways of, doing work. I can tell you that restaurant owners are listening. They're definitely listening. So I know that all of these things that we're saying, all of the critique, all of the feedback, it is getting back to the restaurant owners. And so right now, that is something that we, as I'm not a restaurant owner, but I work with restaurant owners on a daily basis, that I can have that opportunity to give them that information that I just heard as well, from and everything that I hear around the city of Los Angeles. But restaurant owners are listening, and they are making changes to, to make a better experience for the workers. They really do. They're seeing, since COVID, they're just seeing, such a different workforce, and they are open to making the changes. I know that it's going to be a little slower than we want, but we are seeing the changes. Like I said, slowly, but it is changing. So I hope that your husband does give it another shot. Is there a way to promote that? Yeah, I'd love to connect with you. I can tell you some of the things that we're doing. I'd love to share that with you. Perhaps, we can, help be there to help you.
Thank you so much, Lily, and we'll definitely make that connection. But once again, thank you so much. Want to respect everyone's time. I appreciate you and everyone here. So again, thank you so much. Hope you have the great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.